right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. All in studio. A beautiful day here in Toronto. Big game tonight downtown. It's all good.
I'm guessing by the wardrobe, you are going down.
I intend on being in the house tonight.
There is a buzz. There is a buzz in this city.
I understand that.
I don't know.
I'm willing to take bullets if I have to, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if the Leafs lost tonight and they came out and said, go talk to that guy? Not our problem.
Imagine?
Like, it's not our issue. We would have won tonight if Hayes didn't show up.
That would be.
They can use me as a shield if need be.
That would
go
be
ahead.
insane.
Use me as a shield if you need to.
I tweeted out the pic of you as Griff and said, if you see this man, report him to security. Tessa had never seen that picture before. She was beside herself. She's like, what is that picture? I said, that was Hayes on the first day.
10 years ago.
Yeah, that's TSN Radio.
That's a first impression. That's Bryan Hayes' first impression.
She was beside herself. She's like, I can't take that pic. And then the pic of Griff in disguise came out. And it was just look at that guy. That guy's name is Carl or something. What is that guy's name?
I don't know who that guy is. I honestly, like, literally and figuratively don't know who that guy is anymore. Like, that shirt, the mic. Those mics were pretty cool back in the day.
They were.
Like, I don't know what to say about that type of artwork and that type of activity online. By you.
Somebody said,
and I don't like you keep posting it. And
Frank DeChambeau sent it to me. I almost passed out on my golf cart. The Carl got sent to me, and I almost passed out on my golf cart and fell over.
Yeah,
it's just got a look to it where that guy is like so hungry and so angry, and he's such a jerk in public
and sneaky, very sneaky. Because I'm trying to get past security tonight. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, Again, because the game starts at 7 o'clock, I'm going to have to motor down there. It's going to be crazy busy. Like the first beautiful Friday night of the year. The Jays are playing tonight, too. It is going to be bedlam downtown. Absolutely bedlam. Awesome, though. Like, this is the epitome of playoff patio weather.
By the way, I don't think you get in that building till the start of the second.
I think I'll get in probably halfway through the first, unless there's an issue on the Parkway. That's always the problem. If the DVP is an issue, then all bets are off. Who knows? I would assume security will let me through. I'm supposed to be there tonight.
You're credentialed.
I am absolutely credentialed. That's right. And I think I'm doing SportsCenter after the game. So we'll see. But, yeah, these pictures, man, you got to stop posting this stuff because that's what happens. Tessa, like, new people find these pictures.
I can't believe Tessa's never seen that picture before based on the fact
beside herself. She couldn't take Carl.
Well, which one? The original pick or the artwork pick?
The
like
original one.
Disguise.
She basically said, who is that? And
which I think is actually flattering. That's a compliment.
It is, yeah, because you don't even
like
look
I was like
you.
27 years old. And that's what you guys were in the NHL, and I was that guy. But the Leafs
that guy he loves pizza and darts.
That guy
Carl
had
loves pizza and darts.
Yeah, that guy's got an ass groove on the couch, and there's an order.
But he has something to say.
And I had a lot to say.
Yeah,
a lot to say. Now the Leafs were not in the playoffs, right? Like that was April 13th, I think it was, 2011.
Like I was on just shortly after that with you, and I don't know what we talked about. Like
it was big picture stuff.
I would love to go back then to just like what did we talk about daily? I remember having an argument on air about staged fights. Like they were back then, they were still starting to.
Oh yeah.
You had fourth line tough guys, and it was like Colton Orr and whoever.
George Peros,
the one that opening night that we were all at. But back then, it was a big, like the league was heading in a direction, kind of flushing out that fourth line tough guy. And I remember I think you and I were on the same page, but I don't know who was on with us. We had like a shouting match, like off air. I think it was Hoagie and
it might have been. I don't.
Todd
remember.
Hayes were like, "That's fighting's got to be out of the game." You're like, you don't know what you're talking.
Yeah.
We're literally yelling off air about staged fighting, where it's not even.
That sounds right. And look what's happening. 12 years later, you don't. Now you see a fight, the guy gets kicked out for the next
Well,
game.
instigator, yeah.
Darnell Nurse gets a game suspension.
What did you guys make of that? Like, that's
Well,
Nurse's was automatic.
That's the whole. This is what's driving me crazy. Is I'm seeing a lot of people saying, well, that doesn't make sense. If Nurse gets a game, then how does Pietrangelo only get a game? They're not, like, the Nurse thing wasn't reviewed.
Right.
And it was a blatant instigator.
Yeah.
It's
automatic.
It sucks that he's not playing, but he literally skated from the blue line and was targeting Haig and dropped the gloves. Yeah. It's an instigator. Like, it's clear cut. It sucks.
Right.
And I think from Pietrangelo's situation, I think what the Department of Safety and the NHL have effectively done here is they put the whistles away. They basically said, Nurse, you're out for a game. Petro, you're out for a game. It's best 2 out of 3, and that's it. Yeah. And as much as that may not be justified, like the Pietrangelo slash, that was a big slash. That's definitely worthy of a suspension.
Big chop, yeah.
But I don't need to see him out of the series more than a game. Like, purely entertainment-wise, I'm saying purely as a fan of the series, I want to see Nurse back and I want to see Pietrangelo back.
Everyone's outraged about it, and it's like the Nurse is automatic. And if you look at the Pietrangelo, if you think, like, there's some hockey people that thought 2 or 3. He got 1.
Yeah.
It's kind of about right for the playoffs. Just leave it alone. It is what it is.
He didn't get off the hook. It wasn't a fine. Listen, I'm not trying to defend the Department of Player Safety. It is incredibly unpredictable.
You know what?
I have no idea what they're going to do.
What saved Petro is 29 is a grown-ass man, and if he went down in a heap and he was carted off the ice, like favoring that arm, Petro's in big-time trouble.
Yes.
If he went Anthony Davis on that play, big-time trouble
Big-time
for Petro.
trouble. Yes. And if he had a different history. They did say in the video and in the email, never been suspended, never been fined.
That's a guy who's had a, close to a Hall of Fame type of career.
I think so,
and has built up a lot of cachet. Doesn't excuse the act, but you do look in and say, this guy's played 1,000 games in the league and not been suspended. So I think he's kind of been, in the letter of the law for the most part.
Yes.
So you do get some built up points for that. And you're right. There was no injury on the play. Like, if there was, you do have to factor that in. If that is somebody not like a big, strong German guy in Draisaitl and that breaks his wrist, we're talking something different today. Like,
Absolutely.
if Draisaitl's unable to play tonight.
Pietrangelo's out for more games. There's no question. And I understand that's a completely different story, that should the injury or the status of the victim be factored in. And we've talked about that for 12 years.
Yeah, and it's not
20 years, 30 years. It's not going to change. But at the end of the day, Nurse is out, Pietrangelo's out. You got a best 2 out of 3 in Game 5 tonight in Vegas. You got Game 5 here in Toronto as well. And, the Leafs, I saw Chris Johnston say this on the lunch earlier today, that they stayed in a hotel last night.
I like that. You know what? I'll give you one reason why. Is because, can you imagine, let's say Mitch Marner. I don't know where he lives or whatever, but imagine, like, Uncle Frank decides to pop by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just be like, hey, good luck tonight.
Little pop in.
Like, any type of anything.
People just like to switch up the mojo. I think it was the Peterborough Pizza years ago. They were just struggling at home. They all got on a bus.
Yeah.
In their home parking lot and went for a bus ride and then pulled the rig right into the game and got off.
I think stuff like that. I remember
it's about psychology.
It's about a different feeling and a different vibe going into the ring.
We were playing the Detroit Red Wings. I was with St. Louis in the playoffs, and my landlord, who lived next door, I'm sleeping 2:30 in the afternoon, banging my door down like I thought the house was on fire. He's like, "You got 2 tickets for tonight?" I go, "Get the hell out of here!" Trying to sleep. Like, I can't imagine the amount of distractions that would go on in this market, second round. Hometown guys, phone ringing, all of that. Like, the wives, the spouses, you name it, girlfriends would be running interference left and right.
Well, here's something I would like to see happen that I don't think ever will in today's world and likely will never again. Put the phones away for 48 hours. That would
be like the World Juniors. They had a big pouch they put.
Literally, when you check into the hotel, you can't even bring your phone. You can get the phone. It's almost like treating them like children.
That's not going to happen.
Of course
jail.
not.
That's basically jail.
Of course not. But before cell phones, that's what would happen. You can use the landline, call home, and check in and make sure everyone's okay. But when you guys went on road trips in the mid '90s, what were you doing? Like if you called home, you called home. If not, you didn't.
It's called collect from the
exactly.
landline of the hotel.
Not that would have any bearing on the game tonight. I'm just saying that would really be like we're going into a different world for 24 hours. We'll see you when we get out of it, and hopefully it's 3-2.
In Russia, I always thought it was weird because they have a thing called the baza. And the night before the game, even at home, you have to go check into the baza by 9 o'clock that night. And the baza was 2 blocks away from my apartment. So I could look out the window and see my apartment, but I had to sleep there because it was like, no distractions. I'm like, I had nothing. I just had an empty apartment 2 blocks away.
Right. But it's not necessarily about you. It's about the other guys.
Right. But you go in there and you want to talk about distractions. It's smoking and drinking like it's a nightclub, these guys. And that was the distraction. I'm like, I would rather sleep at home and not be drunk and hungover and need a lung brush the next morning. But that was what it was in Russia.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that happened last night. I don't know what hotel they stayed at, but it was a nice night Thursday downtown. It could have been rocking. Like anything's possible. But I think this is more about them realizing that they're 4-1 on the road. They're 1-4 at home. And at home, it just hasn't gone well for them. And when they hit the road, they win hockey games. And whatever it is about that type of staying in a hotel,
distractions,
all for one for all, like I guess it's worth a shot. What I'm curious about is if it works tonight, you have to do it, I guess, before Game 7.
Absolutely.
And then if it works before Game 7, you're basically saying we're just staying in a hotel until we're out of the playoffs. Like if this happens and it works, it's a completely different daily routine, which is fine. Like you do whatever you've got to do. The Leafs have the resources. It's not like they're staying, it's not an Airbnb up in, in Oshawa or Hamilton.
That would be hilarious. Like, could you imagine? We're all thinking it's like, okay, the Ritz or the Hotel X or you name it. Like, what if it was like
just a gritty barn on Kingston Road? Like, just meet us at Kingston Road and whatever. We've got a spot.
Yeah.
Let's
just
make
off
it
the
work.
Beaten path. You want to get gritty? Let's get gritty.
Blue collar, right? Blue collar. You got to get it. You got to get it tonight. And it's a big one. And everyone's trying to get a read on what to expect tonight. And based on recent history with the Leafs, I guess you should be expecting a low-scoring game. They've gone 6 straight games of scoring 2 or less goals, which is really a remarkable run.
I got a feeling tonight they tee off.
I think they have to.
Scoring game tonight,
right? Like at some point, it has to change. Like it's not even just about the Leafs. I'm guessing Florida probably cheats a little bit at some point, or the goalies have an off night.
Yeah.
And like for me, I'm looking at Matthews that it's pretty incredible that we're 4 games into this series and this guy still hasn't scored, and that just can't continue. Like if they're
going to have success,
he's got to break through. Like
this is an unbelievable opportunity for, like you always call it, the Matthews game. You like to label a game with a player. This is an unbelievable opportunity for a Matthews game.
Big time. Early and often. Now, I think he's had opportunities early in games. Offensively, I think he's faded in games recently. Game 6, I guess, notwithstanding, where that a second period goal against Tampa? I think it was. But still, like against Florida, he's had opportunities, hit posts.
Yeah.
Hit crossbars, had great looks on early power plays, but you got to keep going and going. It should be a night where it's, he's got 7-8 shots on goal, 10, 11, 12 shot attempts, rips home 2, and the building's rocking. And he is capable of triggering that as well, right? Like energy in the building. Anybody that scores is going to get the roof popping.
I'd like to see top players play like top players.
It's really inevitable. It has to happen.
And you're right. They're fighting for their lives. And, I don't know how you guys have felt. And I almost have to apologize to people that I've run into in yesterday and today, because I've kind of switched things around. Like I had one of the teachers at the kids' school honk the horn, roll the window down, and say, "Think they're going to win tomorrow?" And I go, "No," because I'm joking. I'm like, I have no idea. And then somebody today at the mail
Don't be
goes,
a nuisance.
"You think they're going to win?" And I go, "Yeah." But then the thing is I don't know. Like I wish I want to say I don't know. I can't get a read on anything. You and we've been talking about, well, it's going to break out. This could be 1-0 tonight.
Yeah.
We've been saying that for 5 games. Well, the offense is going to break out.
The only thing I've said is they're going to have to win 2-1 games at some point. They did the other night.
They did it the other night.
Right?
They did it against Tampa in Game 6.
So it's not going to be – both teams are going to show up and going to be desperate to try and win, desperate to try and not get scored on when they're out there. But if you go to block a shot and it hits your skate and goes past or gets bad bounces happen, like I think it could be a high-scoring game tonight, but I have no instinct of what I've seen – going, I'm bang on that this is going to happen tonight. So I feel bad because when I get asked by fans, I don't have an answer. And
nobody does. I mean, I don't think the Leafs could tell you. I don't think the Panthers can tell you.
There's no margin for error, man. Every game is a must-win game, but you got their attention. They had to fly back up here, and you can really get their attention if they got to go back there and play another one.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then you can get out the underpants cam coming back here for 7.
Yeah, tonight's the night where it can flip. And, if Florida wins,
over.
Credit to them. It's over. They're going to say all the right things. They move on. They know who they're playing. Carolina's through. Carolina's waiting for them. And if the Leafs win tonight, then the pressure flips. And yet, at the same time, the pressure, I think, picks up even for the Leafs in a different fashion.
Yeah, you got to go win it.
Now you played yourself back in.
Exactly.
And now it's like, okay, well, who's the better team? Who had higher expectations a week and a half ago? Like, someone had to be down 3-2 going into Game 6.
Yeah.
So, I think the pressure is obviously still there for both teams. But this was always a 2-pack to kickstart the whole comeback party. It had to be game 4 and Game 5. Then you reset and you start to see where it takes you.
Yeah.
And that'll be the case tonight.
Ultimately, they've got to win 4 in a row, and that's a big task. But you don't get a chance to do it if you don't win tonight.
Right.
That's
and
what
the Panthers had just won 6 in a row. They haven't lost in a long time. Like, what happens with them tonight? Like, what? I don't know. Like, that's equally as unpredictable.
How
do they respond to a loss? They haven't been in that spot in a while. So I expect, like, there's a million people downtown already. I've already heard from people that are like, it's rocking down here because the Jays are back in town.
Right.
You got Jays Braves tonight, Leafs Panthers, and it's 30 degrees and sunny on a Friday night. Like, this is an absolute green light. If you are capable of getting downtown or you're in the mood to have a good time, I would say downtown Toronto might be one of the 3 or 4 best places in the world tonight.
That is exactly right.
It really has a chance to be a very fun time. Now, if the Leafs win, it can escalate that much more. If they lose, people scatter out of there quick. Right? Like Maple Leaf Square, people forget it, I'm out.
Well, if they lose, they're just going hunting for the Jays fans.
Well, if the Jays lose tonight, then it's kind of a double whammy. Yeah. But let's think positively going into a night like tonight.
This is the problem where we are. It's like if we just got to,
That's why you play the games.
Play the games and see how it unfolds and get excited about it. And there'll be people that have had 50 Coors Light before they even blink, before the games get rocking at 7.
I would think that's probably the case. I would guess the downtown crew is probably already dispersed for the weekend. We got a couple of big guests, a few big guests today. We got Keith Jones coming up. Yeah. He's the new president of Hockey Ops down in Philly. We've had Jonesy on a bunch as a TV analyst.
Be interesting to see if he's like, I don't want to do media anymore. Like he's
transitioning out. Like, is he going to finish the playoffs
with TNT? I don't know. I would imagine no. He's got to get to work. Like, they actually got a draft coming up. They have scouting meetings, all of that.
I guess you kind of have to.
I think. Like,
guys hanging around the cup.
John Davidson did it. Like, John Davidson went from broadcasting right into, I believe was it St. Louis that gave him his, I think he went to St. Louis and then to the
Columbus,
Rangers,
then New York.
Or Columbus.
New York,
Columbus, then New York, and then back to Columbus. You're right. But either way, I mean, Jonesy's been, I don't know if you guys have always thought that. Whenever I think of Keith Jones, I think of the Philadelphia Flyers. Like, he's been a long-standing guy there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And he's been calling games for them forever and doing TNT.
Yeah.
So he'll join us in about 10 minutes. We got Rob Brindamore coming up just after 6 o'clock. They're the first team to punch their ticket. And I thought of it as they won last night. I'm not going to mention this to Rod, but there is a potential for just a horrifying Final Four in the NHL. If you're a Canadian hockey fan or a Northeastern hockey fan.
Well, you take the 2 Canadian teams out.
Well, if it's Carolina, Florida, Vegas, Dallas, there isn't one fan in any of those markets that own a winter jacket.
No.
Not one team, not one fan in any of those cities owns a jacket.
Yeah, Seattle has just windbreakers and raincoats.
Right, but I'm taking them out. Like, let's say Seattle loses to Dallas, and I think that's going to happen after last night. Vegas, Dallas, Florida, Carolina.
Well, I will tell you this.
That could be on the
Sun
horizon.
Belt's Final Four.
That's
I'll
Gary
tell you, though.
Bettman's absolute dream scenario.
Three of those
hottest
cities
it
are
ever.
pretty good cities.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not good cities.
Right.
I love those cities.
Carolina
I'm
is
just saying.
sneaky good, so that's 4. But what I'm saying is Dallas is a hell of a city. Vegas is a hell of a city. And we all know that Miami
Yeah, Fort
Beach is-
Lauderdale, Miami.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, if it was like Miami, Vegas,
Yeah.
like what is that? Like what is that? Now, again, it's not there yet, right? The Leafs and the Oilers are going to have something to say about that. The Kraken as well. But Carolina are officially through. So Rob Brindamore coming up.
Yeah.
Just after 6 o'clock. All right, Keith Jones still to come. Mike Johnson will join us as well. Leafs, Panthers, Game 5 right here on TSN Radio. We're teeing it up all afternoon. Leafs, Panthers tonight. Oilers, Golden Knights tonight. Jays back home in action. Chris Bassett on the mound. They got their lineup stacked tonight. Springer back in the leadoff role. You got Vladdy, who's healthy. Bo's hitting second. It's all good. You know, Jays coming off a 3-6 road trip, but they've got a 10-game homestand, and they're in tough. Like, Braves they're legit, man. Like, Atlanta is a really, really good team. So it'll be a big test for them this weekend. And we'll get into that a little bit later this afternoon. Mike Johnson just after 5 o'clock. I'm always talking about the Jiffy app. You know what I need the Jiffy app for, I discovered today?
Yes.
I need the Jiffy app to help me write letters and write cards to, like, significant others. Because it's a big weekend for me. My wife's birthday tomorrow and
Whoa.
then Mother's Day on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a big one. And I was writing 2 cards. My handwriting is the worst handwriting on earth.
You just
but I
double
just
up the
don't know
gift.
what to write. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's a difficult process kind of getting the right words out there.
How
Bad
does someone
handwriting.
that talks for a living not know what to write?
I don't know. I'm just not, it's just not a strong suit.
I've got to.
And because my handwriting is so bad, like it's so awful.
Right.
I'm like wasting cards. I went through 3 of them this morning. I'm like, I can't keep that one. That one sucks. You can't read that.
Why wouldn't you just sign your, like, go to Shoppers or wherever, get a nice card with the nice message, and then just sign your name?
Because you got to add a message on top of the message.
No, you don't.
Oh, I
message
think you do.
is the card.
You gotta
No,
keep it
that's not
simple,
true.
man. You got to keep it simple. Think about this. Aaron. No. My dearest Aaron.
Yes.
My life is nothing without you. Happy birthday.
Really? Is that enough?
That is enough.
See, I feel like you got to go into
Is it
detail.
a special birthday? Like, is it
It's a
40?
big birthday. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
It's
a big
30
one.
again. Let's say it. Let's 30 again.
No. It's
Okay,
out
so
there.
that's
It's all
a-
good.
that's
It's a big
a-
one tomorrow.
It's a significant number,
Yes.
like as far as in birthdays and all of that.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so a
and
little
Mother's
extra
Day
effort.
the next day.
Okay,
That's
so
what I'm saying,
extra
man.
effort has to be put into that.
That's
one.
what I'm saying. It
If
can't
it was
just be
37.
Hey, happy birthday. What's up, Brian? Like, you can't do that, man. You got to have. And my wife is
Dear
like really
Aaron,
long, detailed.
The only unfortunate thing is I haven't met you earlier.
Okay.
Mic drop.
You're actually, look at you. You're pretty
Like-
good at this.
I think either that or you go the
Pretty good at
exact
this.
opposite and you just sign your name and that's it. And then she's
So
like,
your
what the hell was
suggestion
that?
is sign the name, and yours is
It's
over
elaborate.
the top, elaborate,
You
kind
just
of
gotta.
poetic.
You do what you do for your job. You got to come with the heat.
I
man.
don't.
You
I
guys
don't
have been
do
together since-
Hallmark letters for my job, dude. That's not what I do.
You guys have been together for how
I
long?
give her a leaf take in the card. That I could give her.
If you wrote
Happy
Dear
birthday,
That would be-
Matthew scores
yeah,
tonight.
be happy. Like, yeah.
Dear Aaron, go Leafs, go.
Go Leafs, go! I like that they're going 11 forward, 7 defensemen tonight.
Yeah.
Happy birthday!
I think.
I don't know if that would
Have you guys been together 20 years? How long you been together?
been a long time. Yeah, almost 15.
Okay, so 15 years. She knows what you're gonna to bring. You guys been together since you were 23, 24.
Since before that picture was posted.
See that?
Maybe that's
okay.
what I need to do. Put that pic in and say
That is
thank
what it-
you.
Yes, thank you for sticking with me.
You
I
stuck
appreciate
it out with this person in this pic, and look at us now.
Or just write to my love, Aaron. Remember this.
Yeah, shout out.
And then put the picture of you courtside on there.
There you go. I'd have to cut you out of it, though. I think.
That's fine. Believe
If
me.
you're okay
cut
with
me
being
out
cut
of that.
out, that's all
But
good.
just put Griff and then you courtside and go, thank you for sticking it out.
Okay.
I'm your prize at the end.
Okay.
That's something like that.
Yeah, happy birthday. Look
She's
what
done
happened.
well.
Okay. Yeah, everything's all
love
good.
it.
Everyone's happy. Everyone's good.
40. That's well,
yeah, it's a big
happy
one.
Birthday to Aaron.
It's
That's
a big one
awesome.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
big one, big weekend. Mother's Day right on Sunday. Big weekend. All right, Keith Jones will join us here in a moment. I want to ask him where like John Tortorella comes into play on this. Remember late in the year, Tortorella was not on the bench for a game, like he was up in the
surveying things.
Yeah. So like, what is his role in all this? Because like Jones is the president of hockey operations.
Yeah.
Danny Briere's the GM. Tortorella's the coach. But
you got all on.
I would think
page,
you're all kind of on the same page. But there's a pecking order.
Yeah.
Right. Like Keith Jones is now at the top of that pecking order.
Right.
And like this is the dynamic of the sport now. Like when you consider 20 years ago, Pat Quinn was the coach and GM here. Coach and GM. Now there's GM, president of hockey operations, 1 million assistant GMs, 1 million directors of scouting, directors of amateur scouting, like everything across the board. It's a totally different operation now.
Well, you have to be on the same page. Like, don't you think taking that job, you have to be at least in sync with a guy like Tortorella? Or if they're going to move away from him, if Danny Briere says, hey, we're going to start over clean slate, you might have to get ownership to sign off on, because that's a big contract, I'm sure, that John.
Well, you've been behind the scenes, Jamie. You know how many channels everything has to go through. It is it's complicated operation, man.
It is, but keep in mind, every organization works different. We live in a city where MLSE, they've got, I'm sure they work under a budget, but it's a lot looser than, Arizona's budget.
Absolutely.
So you've got to answer up and answer down. A guy like Keith Jones has to answer to ownership and go, okay, here's our clear path moving forward, but it's going to cost you some money to do that because we're going to have to let this person go. We're going to have to sign this player. Like, owners want answers because it's their money that they're spending.
Absolutely.
And it's a little bit different when it's a bigger corporation. I would imagine that a guy like Kyle Dubas talks to Brendan Shanahan and says, like, we're going to have to spend some money here to kind of make things go
disappear.
away. They did that early on, right? Like they did that early on.
Yep.
But you have to answer to ownership on financial decisions that you make. And not everyone's the most popular decision if you have something that you might need to move
absolutely.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. Like, it is tough, especially in a salary cap world. It's a totally different era. And Keith Jones been around the game for a long time. Obviously, playing in the NHL for a long time. He's been doing TV forever, NHL on TNT. He's been on our show a bunch.
Yeah.
But now we can't ask him about the Leaf game tonight. Maybe we can.
I'm sure.
We'll see where
he's not going to give us analysis because he's on the management side now, or what?
I think he could still keep the TV hat on for a Leaf chat if need be.
All right.
But he's the new president of hockey operations down in Philly with the Flyers. Here is Keith Jones. How you doing, Keith?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing really well. It's been a crazy time, but today was a pretty special day.
Congrats, Jonesy. Does this mean you have to move away from just the one black suit jacket, or are you going to get a couple more?
It's been a blue one this year, old dog. It's been a blue one all year, and it lasted through today. It's brought me some luck this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a big role. I mean, obviously, we're a lot of people curious, how it all came about. Can you take us through the process? There were a bunch of different names kind of attached to the job, and ultimately it ends up being yours. How did this all come together where you became the president of hockey ops with the Flyers?
Well, I was asked by someone if I would be interested in it. There was some doubt whether or not I would be willing to leave the TV. And it took me about 10 seconds to think about it, and my answer was yes. That started a very long process of interviews after interview after interview. It was a very interesting process, but it was one that I really appreciated. It was a chance to really think about things and kind of develop my own ideas on what we wanted the culture to be moving forward. And by the end of it, privately, I was, clear that I did not want my name out there, that I did not want people to know that I was interviewing for the job if I didn't get it. because I wanted people to know that when I was doing my TV job, it was the most important job to me. And they were great about that. It was obviously late in the process that my name ever emerged, and I'm grateful that from that regard that's the way that it came out.
Jonesy, Jamie just mentioned the notion of everyone needs to be aligned in an organization, whether, you mentioned the culture, the thought process, belief in what you want. How do you go about getting that alignment? How do you go about making sure that everybody's kind of on the same page so there's no issues moving forward?
Yeah, that's a challenge, but to me it's all about being honest, about having honest conversations within the entire organization. I want people that are working for us to enjoy working there. There's been way too much negativity floating out of the building, and we want that to end. So in order to make it end, we need to make sure that we do a great job of treating our employees well. We want them to love being a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. We want our players to love being members of the Philadelphia Flyers. Winning makes things better. We're not winning over the last few seasons. This year, we're probably not going to be winning a whole lot. But if people see that things are developing in the right direction, I think that helps change the narrative as well. We want to be clear with our fans what we're doing. Yes. We want to communicate with them. We're not trying to hide from it. We want to get better for them and give them a better product to enjoy.
Jonesy, getting your feet wet on the job, is it almost a situation where you got to sit back and almost do a forensic audit of the whole organization and, like you said, maybe build a culture, but also in unison with the people that you do trust that are already in place?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, Jamie. And I'm honestly going to be doing a lot of listening and learning and, hunting and gathering, so to speak, information, because I stayed away from that side of the game. I've only done my job as an analyst, the workings of the organization. Not something that I wanted to be a part of until now. So now I'm going to work my tail off to make sure that I cover every aspect of it. But that's going to be the process. So having reports there to work with me, I think is essential. And it's something that we're all looking forward to try to, piece together a much better product on the ice, at the same time make sure that we do this thing properly and have the best people working for us. I have all the resources I need at my fingertips. We are in a great position because we're working for a company that has given us the green light to do whatever we need to do to get this thing on track. And we're going to do everything we can to innovate, come up with new ideas, and, we can pay some people to work for us. So it's a pretty good deal.
We're chatting with Keith Jones. He is the new president of hockey operations with the Philadelphia Flyers. We'll throw him on hold. We'll see if we can get a better connection. That was...
Well, it was teetering.
Really teetering.
And you want to hear what he's got to say, because it's interesting because, going in, this is a huge offseason for him. And you heard him say that, we might not be doing a lot of winning early on, but we want to be transparent. So there has to be a plan in place how to execute that. And do you keep everyone in place moving forward? You've got a coach who's certainly passionate, but
yeah, and Torts is like, he's going to do it his way.
Right.
That's a big part of it as well, right? Like Tortorella is not going to adapt. He's not going to change.
No, but
he's going to do what he does.
I think Torts has been a guy all about, even when he first came in, he was all about culture, and we got to get some things right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
when he first got there, he goes, "We got some big problems in the locker."
Well, he was
before
very
he had been
honest.
in the room.
Yeah, before he was even in the room, he's like, "We got to get some stuff sorted out." So, that's about being on the same page of everybody involved to help push that culture forward.
All right, we got Keith Jones back on the line. Jones, we were just talking about John Tortorella, your head coach, and he's been a head coach for a long time. Everyone's got a take and a viewpoint of John and how he operates. How big of a role is he going to have to play in what you've been telling us here about being honest about what the team is, but also trying to establish a new culture and ultimately trying to win in the future?
Yeah, his number one priority will be to coach our team. That's what he loves to do. But he already did an outstanding job of laying the groundwork for what we need from our players when we move forward. It's not hard to figure out what type of players that John Tortorella wants playing for him. We got to go out and find him players that have, great talent. It's something that we're, short on compared to other teams. This team this year was a much more competitive team, and John Tortorella has a lot to do with that. But we can do more to make sure that we draft extremely well, that we, turn over some players that we can find in different areas and make sure that we add them at the appropriate time. And we can get some cap space, too, for down the road when it's time for us to start recruiting talented players to join us when we're ready to take that next step. So his patience is going to be something that we're going to ask of him. And I don't think there's any question that John's on board in that regard.
Jonesy, being at ice level or covering games, the 8 teams that are remaining, 7 now, Carolina's through. What is something in common of the teams left that's just something to help you understand in the organization that's where we get to? Like, what are all these teams? Is there one thing in common that it's like they got that and we got to get it?
Their blue lines are strong, old dog. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the foundation of the best teams has so much to do with their back end, and it used to always be about goaltending, but the best goaltenders in the game, as far as I was concerned, entering the playoffs are no longer in the playoffs. So I do think the back end matters a lot. I think if you can build that, you can pretty much do anything when you're ready to add, extreme talent up front and at any of the positions, especially at center. But I think the back end's one of the common denominators amongst all the teams that seem to find a way to win a Stanley Cup.
What are you going to miss about doing TV?
All the friends, everybody. It's like it's a fabulous job. I had so much fun doing it. You miss your interactions with the fans, but it's being part of a team like it was when you played. And all those friends are really important to me. The good news is we'll still be able to visit, but I will miss the day-to-day interaction with all those guys.
Jonesy, wouldn't it be, for me anyways, win or lose, as long as I didn't swear on air, I felt pretty good and jumped on the plane and you were good to go, where as in management, you're going to have to live with some of those wins and losses now that could add some stress and some sleepless nights.
That's a great point, buddy. That is one of the great advantages of doing television. You don't win and you don't lose. Although when you do a local team, you do feel the losses a little bit more because it does affect your broadcast. A winning team, a winning broadcast is a great broadcast. A team that loses is not a great broadcast. So I'm going to try to help our broadcasters out here in Philadelphia, whoever replaces me down the road, that we have a very competitive team that they can feel proud of.
Well, I'm curious how you anticipate your relationship working with the media in Philly now that you're no longer a part of it, but you've been a part of it for so long. Do you intend on being accessible? How often will you be in front of the cameras and the mics? What's your plan on that front?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will tell you, I've always been Jonesy here in Philadelphia. I'm not going to be Keith, so I will be myself when I talk to the people that I know within the media and to the fans. The media are extremely important to me. It's our way of communicating our message to the fans. They have a very important job to do. I know that from their side of it. So when I'm asked to do something, I will do it. I'm going to make sure that I'm accessible because I think it's a major plus if we can continually keep our fans informed of where we are headed. And I want to include them in the journey as we, get going on this new plan to bring back the orange. So we'll see how that plays out, but I'm going to be accessible.
He is Keith Jones, the new president of hockey operations with the Philadelphia Flyers. We always appreciate you finding time for us, Jonesy. We wish you nothing but success down there with the new gig, and I'm sure we'll chat again down the road. Thank you for this.
I'll always appreciate it, guys, and thanks for the kind words. Take care.
You got it. There he is, Keith Jones. All right. Well, we'll see. Yeah. I mean, that's, he was a Flyer for a long time. Danny Briere, Flyer for a long time. And, Philly, as he just said, they're not in a good place. They haven't been for a while.
It's a lot of work ahead of them.
A lot of work to do.
But I believe in Jonesy. I've had lots of conversations with him over the years, as I'm sure you have, Jamie. He's a great guy. He's a smart guy. And I would be buying what he's selling.
Yeah, that's interesting that, they reached out to him. And then once he said, yeah, I'd be willing. I'd be willing to do that job. Then all of a sudden the ball gets rolling.
He's been a very good broadcaster on a lot of big platforms. So I'm sure he's been taken care of. And, he's on TNT, he's on the local broadcast, pretty much been everywhere. So they would have to say, they would have to make it worth his while to do that. Because he's had
it's like Rick Tocchet.
20-year career.
Left.
Why would Talk want to leave the panel on TNT to go to Vancouver unless he wants to get back into coaching, which he wanted to do?
Yes.
It's all about being competitive and being in pro sports. These guys probably, I would guess, have more money than God and they can retire, but they want to be involved in competitive situations.
Yeah.
That's what get their juices flowing.
Yeah. It happens all the time in all types of sports. You look like a different situation, different scenario altogether, but you look at the Tom Brady stuff. Reports are now that he's looking at getting in on ownership in Vegas.
Yeah.
With the Las Vegas Raiders.
I think that I've always felt that should be the play for guys like that.
Yeah, like the icons.
Why would he want to grind weekly and do research on the Detroit Lions and got to, dig in on their secondary to talk about them? Yes, $25 million or whatever he was going to get paid.
Right. But he's got so much money anyway.
Exactly. About ownership level, you're on a level where you're helping to grow the game,
So if he becomes an owner, he's not doing the TV.
Well, it sounds as if he still can do it and Fox would be okay with it.
I don't think he would want to,
But
though.
that said, I don't see how he could, you can't call a Raiders game if you're a part owner.
Dude, Tom Brady, what he's like. If he has even just a small portion of the ownership, he will want to be in all the meetings, all hands on deck, and he will want to be a part of the team.
Likely. And why would you not want him to have a huge role in the game? If he is part owner.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1%. A half percent.
It's all of it. Hiring process, assistant coaches, quarterback coaches, offensive coaches.
But then he's stepping on toes, though. There's only you can't have an owner.
I know, but he's not there to step on toes. He's He's there to offer advice on what to do.
I think they could use him as a resource in certain situations.
Sure.
You know the deal when Tom Brady calls, just like any other of these hotshots that get hired, people pick up the phone.
Obviously, yes, and he can change the whole image of that team. But he's in it to make money at that point, too, right? Get into ownership, you're looking to cash a big check down the road.
I remember years ago, I was switching agencies, and my parents got a call. My mom leaves this. She's like, this Bobby Orr called for you. And I was like, I don't think it it didn't register.
She didn't think it was
Wrote
the
it down
Bobby Orr.
Yeah, it's written down on the counter upstairs.
You.
And I'm like, that's Bobby Orr.
Right.
I had, because he was an agent.
Yeah, exactly.
And the weirdest part is having to have that conversation saying, I'm not going with your agency, I'm going with, Newport Sports or whatever.
Tough.
I ended up
you turned down Lanny McDonald, you turned down Bobby Orr.
Well, believe me, I'm sure
Outrageous.
he's happy he didn't want me as a client after. Looking back,
Outrageous.
who knows? But I was comfortable in my setting. But it is
Sure, it all
weird
worked
to
out
get a
for you,
message
but-
like my mom was like, yeah, this guy named Bobby Orr called.
You.
But I don't know if she wrote it down. I don't know if it registered with
Sure.
Weird.
I want to see Mark Davis and Tom Brady hit the strip in Vegas.
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine the scene? Imagine Davis like, Brady, go sit over there. I'll take care of this.
Oh, they're going to the Spearmint Rhino in Vegas, and they walk in there.
Possibly.
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
All right, Mike Johnson in about 15 minutes. Rod Brindamore still to come. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Dear Hazy Beat coming up at 6:30. We're looking for Leaf-related scenarios, ideally. Yeah, if there's something good that comes in that involves your father-in-law on a golf trip or something, okay, we'll do that. But it is kind of a big game tonight. Game 5, it's a massive game.
There was one guy that said his buddy's bringing a drone to the course, and there's old school guys that aren't into it.
There's such a clash of generations at golf courses.
I can do low music, country music. If you're drone guy, snapping pics with a drone, I walk. I walk.
I don't
just so
understand.
goofy.
The drone
Like,
hovering around, like I don't
probably
under-
trying to record the rounds so that they can put together video and post something on Instagram. Like, are they influencers? You know, like if you're a golf influencer.
What I
that
read
actually is an
was
industry.
I have a buddy who's drone guy to snap pics of us teeing it, and it's just gotten too.
That just is so unnecessary.
Right.
Why would you want your friends to take pictures of you while you're teeing it?
I don't know. You
I-
guys like that's
I don't get
annoying. Did you guys tee it today?
No,
Both?
I did not. No, I'm going to the game. I got to be ready for that.
Gotta be focused.
I got to be focused.
All right.
Hour 2 coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.